Greetings fellow gamers, the gameplay you're pretty much seeing is just me playing Kill Confirmed, and I think I get joint first or whatever in terms of KDR, but the score per minute was just so much higher for me because I got like 3 orbital VSATs or whatever. Anyway, with less than a week to go until Ghosts, and not long until the second next gen console comes out, because unfortunately the Wii U does actually count as a next gen console. And it seems from forums, polls and whatnot, the PlayStation 4 is going to be the more popular console. But it's amazing how many people equate that to being the better console when that is just not true. Microsoft have really shot themselves in the foot when they announced the specs and features of the console, such as the DRM and the always-on policy, because regardless of whether they reversed their policy on that or not, the damage had already been done. Stocks had fallen, public perception had been shifted, and it had become known as the console that doesn't let you share games, and this was enough to give the PlayStation 4, which in my opinion isn't that spectacular of a console, an enormous lead. But why is this? I'm not an expert by any means, but I blame it on one thing: the fact that the general public as a whole like choice. I say choice, but perhaps I should change that to illusion of choice. The Xbox One originally did have online checks every 24 hours, meaning you needed to have a solid connection when it made the check, otherwise you'd be locked out of the console. Now you could probably say this had made people feel like they didn't have a choice and they always needed to be online. But the worst thing about this was that you couldn't play games offline either, which meant you either played with a working internet connection or nothing. There was no bringing the console round to a friend's house or a hotel or wherever you wanted to play it that didn't have an internet connection for more than 24 hours, which pretty much limited the places you could play it. What people don't seem to realise is that it's been changed and only needs an online check once and only once, and that is when you buy the console for the first time, and that is fair enough. It may not be ideal for some people, but it may not be ideal for people that do not have an internet connection, but in this day and age, in the country that the Xbox One is being launched in, the majority do have access to some sort of connection. That was probably the biggest problem people had, or maybe it was the DRM, I don't know. Put simply, it was this: it meant you couldn't share games, but if you bought the game, installed it onto your profile, but you can go around to a friend's house with the disc and log in and play on their profile, play on your own profile, no problems. But if your friend wanted to continue to play in the game after you left, they would need to pay a fee of some sort to unlock it on their profile or something along those lines. But yeah, sounds complicated, doesn't it? Not only that, but people did not like the perceived lack of choice when it came to second-hand games. Pre-owned games were now rendered pointless, and going round to your friend's house with games were also pointless. And for those who slated Microsoft for that, what you need to realise is that this model, or a similar version, would have had its benefits, and that would have been cheaper games, which may have made up for the non-sharing aspect, probably. Just look at Steam. I don't use Steam all that often, but as far as I'm aware of, you can't share games on there, but whenever they do a sale, jeez, the prices drop to ridiculous prices. I'm walking into Game and that, and I'm seeing the likes of Tomb Raider and Call of Duty Black Ops 2 at some high price at £15 to £22, and I think I'm not touching that, mainly because I've got the game already. But on Steam, I'm seeing them drop down to like £10 or something ridiculous like that. I'm not saying that all games would have been cheap, but there were more chances of getting dirt cheap A-star games for low prices. In fact, it probably would have been even lower to encourage more people to buy it, seeing as you couldn't trade it in or anything like that. But as it stands now, because of the backlash, we gamers are now stuck paying £50 for games that are rehashes or sequels. like Black Ops, no, not Black Ops, Ghosts and Battlefield 4, when possibly, who knows, we could have gotten it for cheaper, but yeah. Perhaps this wasn't their intention, as if they were going to make the games cheap, they would have focused on that on their E3 presentation, but like I said, I'm not an expert. I mean, I know I wouldn't have thought that claiming that Kinect is required and it always needing to be on would have been a great idea for a highly anticipated console, but hey, what do I know? To be honest with you, Microsoft should have stuck with their vision of the Xbox One if it was really... if it was going to be something that was really radical, they should have stuck with their vision of it. But as it stands now, they have a console that doesn't really have a distinguishing feature about it. Sure, there may be some improvements, like it finally has a Blu-ray player, even though it wasn't really their fault for back in HD DVD. It does have Titanfall, though for how long is the next question, but the original design just felt so restrictive and just yeah. That's the part that sticks in people's minds. So to sum up my feeling on this, people really don't like the feeling of being out of control and having no choice. Their disastrous presentation mixed in with other factors really did bite Microsoft in the backside, and let's not get started on the price, because as I said, if they had stuck with a sort of Steam model and cheaper games, then the higher price point would have been forgiven, but as it stands, you're paying £80+ more for something that is almost identical to a PS4. For now. When Titanfall, Left 4 Dead 3 and all those other exclusive Xbox One games come out, then it's a different story. Anyway, thank you for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Take care.